going to teach us how to pounce with prunes.
Yes, we now know who's going to pounce. Well, I'm here. Sorry about talking. I've got a locked jaw, but that will be sorted.
Won't stop her.
It won't stop me. Won't stop me at all. But number one, you know, everybody knows. I've been with California Prunes for a while now, for a few years. I adore them. Not only do I adore them, the fact is I use the sweetest, and they have been part of my diet. I am so well as a person now. I actually feel I use the prunes like sweets. I have them in the car. I use them always. I always have a whole load in the side. Now the thing is, they are a natural sugar. We can use them in our cooking. We can bring the sweetness through. It's high in fiber. It has all the nutrients that we need to give. And more people now in our chef world are aware of this. And prunes is a wonderful substitute for using this, for actually combining, taking something out and putting it in. So even in cakes, you can substitute it from, I've said, or from sugar. You can just puree it. You use it as a puree. Colour would be different, but it can be done. So, and it's full of potassium, all these different vitamins. They're really, really good for you. So, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. But also, you've got to understand the product as well, because I look at the product. Whenever we cook, Peter and I, the first thing you need to do is look at what you're actually working with. Now, the thing is, these are Argent prunes. Now, believe it or not, I always used to use Argent prunes from France. These are different. I find the French way they do it, they dry them and pack them, are a little softer. So when you come to use them, they actually melt down a lot quicker. With these, you will find, and Peter, I'm sure you agree with me, they stay. You can actually chop them up and they won't dissolve, which is a very important part of the product. It's how they're actually delivered. I don't know, I could give you an analogy. I can't say analogy, it's terrible, my mouth. If you take a pea, a petit pois pea, I think they're brilliant. I love it. They're fresh, they're delicious, they're packed quickly. Now the prune from California is the same. It's done, it doesn't touch the ground, it has no bruising about it, there's nothing happening. And this is very important, that it doesn't touch the ground, it does go, it's all machine done, but it's in, out, dried, done, processed. And that's what you want. And it delivers a product that I think it's dry, it's not damp, it's not wet. You can use it, but it's edible. Now that is very important. So really what I'm saying is it's got balance to be used for many, many things. Would you agree with that?
I would. And balance is something we're probably going to discuss quite a lot in cooking, because that is, for me, is always what we're trying to achieve with cooking. Doesn't matter what style of cooking you're creating, a balance of flavour, balance of nutritional value. For me, it's about every little win that you can get in cooking all adds up to a big difference at the end of the week. And you know, I turned 40 last year, and all of a sudden I realised I'm not bulletproof anymore. And I'm now starting to question what I do and what I eat a lot more than I used to. I've got a young family, and it is every little win helps. And I think when you really dig into what we've got a multitude of colours, textures, ingredients. That's a good place to have the kitchen and the cupboards and the fridges. If they're colourful, you're on the right track.
But also, but the product is paramount.
Of course, yeah.
Whatever happens to me, it's all about the product. If you've got disgusting products or bad products, it's going to be about, you're going to have to do something pretty good to it to make it really good. You start off with a good product.
Well, you're as good as the
ingredients. And that's why you can use it. That's why you can use it actually as a finished product as well, as well as making it within the stuffing, within everything. So, yeah.
So should we start cooking?
Shall we?
We should.
No, I'm going to be his commie today.
Wish me luck.
No, that's absolutely, I'm under his instructions today. But because he's bought all the food, may I tell you, I'm incredibly grateful. All the food, so we're starting off doing his spelt pancakes.
You want to do those first, do you?
Yeah, go on, let me do those. I'm going to wing it.
Okay.
So basically, we wing. We win.
So what we're creating is, we've been creating a series of dishes recently, and I wanted to kind of unlock healthy eating, because healthy eating for me has to be really exciting. Otherwise I don't look forward to it, and it's just an arduous task. For me, every day, it's like, right, what's the next meal? And that kind of gets me through the day. Having something to look forward to,
Yeah,
you know? And it's...
I'm going to stop you there. What's your name? I'm so sorry.
Kira.
Kira, would you like to come up and do them for me? The pancakes.
Sure.
That was the answer she was looking for. Right, I'll sit down.
Don't make eye contact with Rosemary today. You do not know what she's going to
The thing is, people who know me know I've been doing demonstrations for how many years? I don't know, 40 years, I haven't got a clue. But whatever, I've been doing them forever. But now what I do is, I like to get somebody from the audience, because actually there are two reasons why. Because if you make a mistake, it's not my fault.
My fault.
if you actually,
You're not daft, you know. She's not daft.
But actually, the thing is that what you can do is, you can learn something by making mistakes. And that's what you do in life. You learn by mistakes. That's how children learn, by mistakes. It's very important. But because I'm winging it as well, we're winging it together. So
Now I'll be guiding. I'm your safety net.
we need to just say we've got spelt flour, but we've got stone ground. Now this is really important using, because it's still got the bran, it's still got the germ in it. So consequently, stone ground is always the flour you should use if you're doing anything that you want wholeness in it, and it's good. So stone ground, spelt flour. So what we're going to do, you're going to take this, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. Do you mind me getting you? Good, okay, good. So all you're going to do is just bung that in and mix it. Right, okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to put in some, that's it, put it all in. We're going to pour a bit of sugar in there, why not? We're going to put it in, 4 times the recipe.
What that tiny little bit of sugar does in the pancake helps it caramelise in the cooking process. So what we've done is we've taken a normal pancake, we've replaced the flour, we're adding little wins, we've got a little bit of, you know, spelt is a great grain to work with, but it's slightly heavier, it's slightly more thirsty in recipes, so it needs a little bit more hydration. And these are the things, when you change recipes, you need to make slight adjustments and think about what you've added and what's the change going to be. And it's going to be slightly more thirsty.
It's still a wheat. This is still a wheat. This is wheat, but it's a different type of wheat. And that's the thing.
It's an old Roman grain, spelt, isn't it?
Spelt. It goes back something like 5,000 years. It goes back a long way, spelt. Right, keep going. I think we need a bit more liquid. Can we have some more liquid in here?
Yes.
Just get some
water
milk.
there.
That's fine. Or water. It's fine. So whisk it up really, 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 really well. Whisk it. Really whisk it. Now, the thing is, it's better to whisk when it's a little lumpy, because you're more likely to get the lumps out than when it's actually thin. So keep whisking. Keep whisking.
Put it in a food processor.
Yes, you can. Yes, that's another way. Or you can use
You don't have a victim.
You can
use a food processor.
Oh,
Well, the thing you have to be careful of though is if you overmix, you will develop the little gluten that's in
That's
there.
right.
So there is some gluten, it's slightly lower,
Yes,
but if you overmix, it becomes a little tighter. But
Now we're going
mixing
to
it enough,
keep getting down to
and there's a little bit of baking powder in there which will help with the lift.
That's right.
And can I just say something about gluten and sugar here? So, unless you are celiac, there is no reason to, or gluten sensitive, there is no reason to avoid gluten. And also, some of you may have been surprised that they actually did mention sugar. What we're talking about is how much sugar we're having in our overall diet and in context. You know,
A little bit more.
avoiding, you know, just refined sugars, you know, in most of the time is actually where we're at. But if you're doing some baking and actually to look at improving the actual consistency of the end product, it's fine. You know, at the end of the day, you're going to have a slight, it's a portion. So just think about that as well, because I think we've gone way the other way now, particularly in the media. So. Yes.
How would you know that you were gluten sensitive?
Oh, you know, you would know about it. Certainly, you would know about it if you were. First of all, you'd be pretty unwell, and you would probably have quite a lot of bloating. But actually, more importantly, we see that is, you know, you feel really grotty. Now, the way to actually know if you have, if you are celiac, is through a process. You need to go and see a gastroenterologist, and it's very, very important that you do have That's that done.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually then you absolutely cannot just have little bits of it here and there because that does have an implication on your health. Yeah.
Do you want to put some prunes on?
Yes, I do.
It affects the villi in your digestive tract and your intestinal tract, and actually then becomes inflamed and has implications on absorption or malabsorption, which is not where we want to be. So certainly for people that are senior, they do have to avoid gluten. Okay,
It's not a good thing. Right,
not a great thing.
what we're doing now?
Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a fruit compote, but we don't need any sugar in this dish particularly. We're using prunes and prune juice, and what we're trying to use the prunes for its texture. Okay, so what happens when you boil liquid and sugar together and fruit, you end up with this kind of viscous, sort of coulis type texture. What we're trying to make is something, I personally would make this in a larger quantity. And keep it in the fridge, and we would use it for all kinds of different things. You can swap jam out and use this instead. And rather than trying to get it to set almost like a jam with lots of sugar, we're using this for texture, okay, and sweetness. Yeah, it was on.
Now I want to use this one.
Okay.
Because she's going to make a pancake.
So I need to get this up to the boil, and what we're going to do is we're going to sweeten it with a little bit of vanilla, okay?
So here we are, let's put the vanilla in.
Yeah.
Also, you must always use vanilla extract, not essence. Also, I like the vanilla paste that they do these days. I think it's really, really lovely, where they puree it up, and you've got, I can't open this thing. Oh, here it is. No, there we go. I lose patience. So, there we go. There we go, that's perfect.
So that'll give it its sweetness, and that'll help us with the balance.
Yeah.
And the difference between sort of that kind of step from professional kitchen to domestic is we're always tasting. And at home you tend to not taste until you sit down. And you've had no opportunity to balance the flavours, balance the textures. And I would always encourage people to taste. My mother never tastes anything until she sits down and gets a knife and fork. Drives me absolutely insane.
But the thing is, if you are experimenting though, the difficulty with that is that how do you know what is the right taste?
Right, okay, it's really important. You've got to understand, we were talking about balance earlier.
Yeah.
Okay? With this, because it's sweet and it's reducing, so the sweetness is intensifying. The only way to do that is to add some lemon juice to it, or lime juice. So what people will need to do is add some lemon juice, and that will totally balance it out. Or, there's another way, you can make it creamy and add some cream fresh to it. So as long as you sort of take the sweetness, because by reducing anything, it's like when you're reducing a stock and you've got salt in there. You never put salt in a stock until the end, because otherwise you're then reducing it and intensifying the flavour. So it's very important to know how it's done. And basically it's just understanding, it's all about balance.
Balance is also personal. My amount of lemon juice that I want in will be slightly different to yours. That's okay. But you need to get, the amount of vitamin C you're going to get from a lemon or a lime anyway is worth putting in. And the sweetness, the ripeness and the sweetness of these will be different today than it will in a couple of other months. Or if you've picked the raspberries off the tree and the cane in your garden, you'll only pick them at their perfect ripeness, the high sugar level. So that means they're going to be sweeter, which means you're going to need more lemon juice or lime or whatever floats your boat, really.
Now, I'm going to
add the blueberries in first.
Yes.
Okay.
But we can't use those for too long because they'll disintegrate into nothing. And you want
what I'm actually going to do is take them off the heat.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to cook them. I'm just trying to warm them through, let them burst just a little bit. The raspberries are incredibly delicate, and you don't want them jammy and cooked. You want them fresh and juicy, and you want them to burst. So it's getting that balance between cooked and fresh. Thank you.
And also, what I'm going to do now, I just want to quickly do a pancake, and then I'm going to be taken over from me. So, I don't know whether, I'm sure you can all make pancakes, but you always start in the middle. So you take this pan, like this. Okay, now you work around, like this, round,
Did you use oil or butter?
round. We've used a little bit of oil. Round, and I could make it a little bit thinner, I think. Right, we're just going to take a little bit thinner, a little bit more water in there. and then make it so, you can use anything. So basically, that's better. The other thing is, what happens is, when it sits, when spelt flour sits, it thickens up anyway.
It's thirsty, isn't it?
Because it's thirsty,
Yeah.
because it's starchy. It's not like other flours. So
It's a lot more open
and
texture than
it
white
actually
flour.
went within, no time at all. Now I've just quickly taken it off. Do you see that? Okay, so that's it.
Oh, that lime you're getting. Oh, that juice you're getting out of there.
It's northern guns.
Is it, or did you roll it before? Is it?
No. And what you do with the lime is you turn it inside out
Look at that.
and then get more juice, yeah? Okay? And if you're using lemons, you can then preserve those lemons and use them for something else.
Right.
Yeah.
It's split because it's oh!
So it's the first time.
No, it's always about
Rubbish,
this plate.
isn't it?
You didn't see that. But that's good. That's fine. That's good. It was a great pancake. Okay, where's the oil? Oh, please. Okay, let's do it. Right, in we go. So make sure it's all over. This. Right, in we go. Now, it's thinner now, so it'll be a lot easier to do. Do you want to have a go?
Yeah.
Off you go. There we go. But lift it up first. Lift it. In the middle.
No, it's not too bad.
In the middle,
It's quite
go on.
sharp because I
Keep going.
want the sharpness.
That's
But the
right.
blueberries
Go
are
round,
warm.
perfect. Go round. Don't worry
Oh,
about it.
that's a real hit.
Go round. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on.
That's nice, but the lemon worked and lime worked.
The
Not
warmth
quite
of the
hot.
blueberry kind of brings the blueberry
It's
out
going to be
to be as good as a blueberry should be. Because I would say our blueberries in this country are never
It's all right.
great. They're kind of never quite as sweet as you expect
But
them
it's
to
not
be.
quite all because it's spelt flour. You have to get it slightly more delicate. So don't worry. Keep going. Put a bit more water in.
Can you sprinkle the seeds on?
Yes, I
On the
will
raw
do.
side.
Rosemary, was the oil just normal vegetable oil?
Yeah, this is normal vegetable oil. So now what we're going to do for Peter is sprinkle some seeds on.
So this again is an example of another little hit,
What I'd
another
like
little
you
win.
to do is
My
sprinkle
kids
the
love
seeds on, please.
pancakes, and I can get another bit of more nutritional value into a pancake
top.
by just sprinkling some seeds.
But don't turn it over yet. Keep going. No, leave it on the pan. No, leave it. That is something that people do. Why? I don't understand. Do not take it off the pan. You're cooking a pancake. Okay, let's just check it. Oh, look at
Look at
that.
that.
You see, it worked.
You're right. Now, it's a little bit thicker, but you could, that's what it is, okay? You can't help that, but you're going to do more now. Sit there and do 20. Right, okay, let's just... somebody else wants to go. Patience. Pancakes always take longer than you think.
Yeah, they do.
It's 'cause they do. It's one of these things that you do.
Yeah.
That it's what's he doing? He's already in there. Look at it. Look at it.
So all I've done is I've just put some Greek yogurt at the bottom. I use 0% Greek yogurt, particularly in things like this because I don't need the fat content. It's another,
I'm gonna
again,
take
another
that
little
out.
win. And then this fruit compote
Put a
will
bit of
just
oil
keep
on.
quite happily in the freezer if you want to keep it for much longer. You keep it in the fridge probably for 3 or 4 days easy. So make it slightly bigger features. You can also blitz this up in a food processor and make them into ice lollies really easily.
If that happens, well, take that. That's it. Careful you don't hurt yourself. In the middle.
Yeah.
Stop! Out! Turn around! Round! Go on, round! That's perfect! Stop it down! Don't see that. Right, okay.
Thank God you got it right.
Perfect!
There's a reason I
Okay.
sit over here.
Now, wait. Well, we'll just carry on with the pancakes while you just carry on with yours.
Okay, so what we're going to do as a main course, we're going to make some steamed buns. So bao buns, you know, the Asian steamed buns. We're going to again add a little bit of. We've added some wholemeal flour into this. I don't live in London, but I think a lot of food trends start here, and they start to then move up the country. I think steamed buns are a big thing. I've tested these out on my kids, and they absolutely love them. You can't buy bao buns in the supermarket at the moment. Maybe you can in London, I don't know. I certainly can't outside of London. but they're really easy to make. Rainy afternoon, make a whole batch of them, and you can use them with the grown-ups, you can use them with the kids. They're a great way of carrying some flavours. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make nutritionally packed, full of goodness, a really, really tasty treat. And for me, this is kind of exciting, healthier eating. So we're going to serve them with, we're going to make like a hoisin Asian sauce. So we've got...
Shall I do your dough for you?
I would love for you to do that.
Behave yourself, young man.
Right, I'll get you some more water.
Thank you. In here is just plain flour, white flour, wheaten flour, and that means it's been bleached and everything's out of it. And I put a handful of spelt flour in there to give it the sort of richness, the texture. Also, we put seaweed in there to give it the saltiness.
So we haven't put any salt in. Normally you would always put salt in bread. And I'm doing a little bit of work with these guys because I think seaweed is a big food trend. Nutritionally really good for you, isn't it? And the rest of the world already know about it. We are an island nation and not really eating it.
No, exactly.
And it's a great way to pull out some salt, put some goodness in. She's like the lad to ladette thing all over again.
She's doing very well.
Bless you.
She's doing
Too
good.
young for that. You
I'm
won't
just
remember
going to
that.
bung. We put yeast in, by the way, sachet yeast as well. So we're just going to bung this in and do it. Now, one thing everybody does is I'm using one hand to do the bread. Bring it round, put it in. That's it. Just go like that and make it. And you just literally, okay, you can do it now. That's it. You're done. Turn it over. That's it. The other way. So let's put you. Keep going. Now do that one.
Okay. Right, Rosemary, while you're just mixing that, I want to talk to you a little bit about... So, we're going to serve it with pickled carrots, but we've pickled ours in lime juice. And the reason that we've done that is you get that raw tang. And I could have used vinegar, but I wanted to use something better, something more nutritionally valuable. And I pickled these carrots about 3 days ago in lime juice and just put them in a container and left them. And for me, this offers balance. You know when you throw some capers in to get that nice sort of sharp burst? It does the same thing, but you get a raw crunch from it as well. So when we serve up the chicken with something rich, so this is the Asian sauce I'm going to show you how. It's like a hoisin sauce. Normally it'd be full of sugar and all that kind of stuff. All we've used is the prunes, the thick, rich, sweet fruitiness of the prunes to make this sauce, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But we're going to get the carrots on first. So all we do is top and tail them, cut them in half so they're a bit more manageable, and then the first thing we do is cut the bottom off so that it's flat and safe, okay? So when you chop in thin, it's really important to be safe, because if you're safe, you're more confident. If you're more confident, you're more capable, okay? So all we're going to do is we hold the carrot with second finger and thumb like that, and the first finger we're using as a guide, okay? So we're just slicing as thin as you can. And if you've got a mandolin, use a mandolin. Just be very, very careful. I like to use a knife.
Do me a favour, turn this on, would you? We've got a problem.
I will. Houston, we have a problem. There we go. And then what you do, so at the moment, you know, I've got them sliced up really, really thin, okay? Put them back together into maybe 3 piles so that they're not going to wobble about. And then take one pile and then just run your knife through. Now it's a rolling action with a knife, it's not a chopping up and down. We roll through the vegetable. And you just take your time and do it slowly so that you get it thin. It's more important that you get it right than you get it quick, okay? So we just slice through, nice and thin. And by adding the lime juice, it's going to kind of break it down, but not to a point where it's cooked.
Yeah.
It's raw and it's tangy. You had pickled carrots before in lime juice?
Yeah, push this one.
Yeah, I probably
Yeah.
do something similar, but actually,
Roll.
I'm just thinking that they look like they've been done in the food process.
Roll.
Yeah, just do them by hand.
No, turn.
So we
turn.
just slice, I mean, I've been chopping every day for 25 years, so to get quick and confident, it does take time.
Practice.
Takes practice, takes time, takes a good knife.
Nice.
But you don't need
Roll.
20 knives.
Turn.
You need a couple of good knives that you're really comfortable with. Because like I say, when you're comfortable, you're confident, you're more safe, you're more capable. That's the secret to good chopping. That's it. Okay, so what we're going to do is get the carrots in. And then we're going to get lime juice. And I go big with lime because I want it tangy.
Yeah.
Okay? So we squeeze it in, turn it inside out, plenty of lime juice on it.
Careful.
Because these will keep.
Sorry, just have to stop you there. Does anybody else get as much juice out of their lime? I think you've done something here.
How come you're not getting loads of pips out of it?
You don't get pips in limes. Oh, north, anyway.
There's a little. I think you do something.
Local Cumbrian limes.
I'll just show them. There's a little trick. If you take a lemon,
Yeah.
all right, you cut the ends off like that, and then you cut that. You can get a lot more juice out of it than if you keep the ends on.
It's an exclusive there.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Okay,
do you? You want
no, so once they're in the lime juice, squeeze the carrots, yeah? Give them a little squeeze and kind of break the chambers down just enough for the lime juice to penetrate the carrot, okay? And then leave them for about 10 minutes and they've done their job, but they get better and better and better. So if you're trying to make like a really healthy, I don't know, noodle salad for your lunchbox, chuck a handful of those in and you get real zing and vibrance. And when it comes to lunchtime, you open the box, it's like, it's all exciting, it's all fresh, flavoursome, instead of dull and sad and ambient, like most lunchboxes are. Anyway, right, so we're going to leave those, and I've done some in advance. So we're going to make the sauce as well now, and it's dead simple, and again, make more than you need. This will sit in the fridge for 2 or 3 weeks, no problem. Okay, so prune juice. Going with that,
Can I just say something about prune juice?
You can.
I've just started, okay, because I hate exercises, and because I thought, what would be great to do exercises? What do I do? Because I've got to do exercise, and I've tried so hard to do them, and I really have, and California Prunes have been supporting me on all this. And I suddenly thought, I love ball games. I love ball games. So I went to my local...
I know, I was thinking exactly the same. I was thinking, where's she going with this? But anyway.
I went to my local school, community school, and what I do is...
Is that like that school for old people you went to?
I went to play tennis, I played table tennis, I played volleyball, I played netball, I played everything to do with balls. I love it. You know what?
What's this got to do with the juicer?
Well,
Thank you, Holly.
wait. I've got one of these bottles that have these little things in. There's like a little there's like a little thing that you go in for fruit. And what I do is I shake it and I get prune water and prunes in there and put a little prune. It's fantastic.
For hydration, is that
hydration.
Brilliant, we got there in the end.
Right, okay.
Excuse me. Be careful.
That's what I'm
Be careful.
Okay, back to the Asian sauce. So all I've got is prunes and prune juice.
Okay.
And I'm just simmering them and I'm boiling them up. Again, I want texture. Okay, so the California prunes have been dried, so they're now starting to drink, they're starting to absorb the California prune juice. Okay, so what we're going to do is add aromatics. So I kind of want it smoky, so I'm going to add a little bit of smoked paprika in there. If you want it hot, add chili. If you don't add it. And then I'm going to add some ginger, and all I'm doing is adding slices of ginger, and I'm trying to sort of use it as an aromatic, okay? So it's just going to sort of perfume the dish with ginger so it's not full on. And then I'm going to do the same with garlic.
Did you not peel the garlic?
I didn't, no, the ginger, no, because I'm just using it as an aromatic. If I was going to leave it in, I would have peeled it and diced it all up. And then with the garlic, all I'm going to do is just crack the skin, because all I want to do is permeate it with garlic. I don't want it to be garlicky. Ginger and garlic's kind of the base for really good Asian flavours. Permeates, yeah.
The thing about flavour, if we talk about flavour...
One more thing.
Oh, sorry,
Hold it there.
yes, I will.
Star anise. Okay,
Oh, yeah, sorry,
straight in. There, you're back. Back in the game.
So, the thing about flavour, people love sweetness or chili. Strong flavours. That's what people, the taste buds are. And it's really important. And you can guarantee that people will enjoy something if it's that medium. It's funny, it's a funny thing because people love chili, people love spices. And people, this is what it's all, so you're on a winner, you've won. If you've got spice, you've won. If you've got sweet, you've won. In between that, it's all grey. And that's what you've got to understand. It's like taking that step further, taking that step further and actually getting it right so people will enjoy it. The way you can get it right with the greyness is having the knowledge of seasoning. And that is something people don't have. That is the problem. You have to learn all about seasoning. But then that's the other way. So you
Just
have
practice
to,
though,
so it's all down to practice.
Taste it. So I'm just going to cook the chicken again. A really good way is tiny little bit of oil on the chicken. Never put it in the pan, okay? Because the pan can get nice and hot. That's been on there for 10 minutes while I've been chatting. And then instead of salt, we're going to go seaweed. So we're getting that kind of sort of salty flavour, but it's coming from the iron-rich seaweed. And I'm using also quite a lot of dried mushroom powders to get that umami flavour through without heavy salt. Because chefs can be a bit heavy-handed with salt. And then straight into the pan.
And curiously, another thing you could do, which is quite a fun thing to do, is get a herbal tea and actually cover it in herbal tea, the fine one, which works like a dream as well for flavour. So if you've got a lemon herbal tea, if you've got a rhubarb herb, you just cover your chicken or your meat with the herbal tea. It's delicious.
So what, you mean as a marinade?
As a marinade,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I use a lot on pork. I use a lot of tea on pork. I love it. Are you enjoying this?
Yeah.
Now, come on, round. Go on, thinner. Have you this one? Thin. This is going to be the best one. Go on, push down.
Wow.
Perfect. That's a perfect one.
Pancake factory.
No, she's got the best one, yeah. Some are a little bit thick, but we don't mind. But these are never going to be, these spelt pancakes will never be thin, unless you put a little bit of white flour.
How are we doing on the dough? Are we all done?
Yeah, we're
Here's
done
one
with
I made
that.
earlier.
There's one you made
Okay, right. So let's show you how to make some steamed buns, okay? So this dough Rosemary made first thing this morning. And it's proved and doubled in size, okay? So you can see. Alright? So you can see it's all inflated.
See, you've got to be working.
You can even make dough overnight, put it in the fridge and it will do the same thing. If you lower the temperature, you will slow down the proving process. So if you haven't got time to do it on the day, do it overnight, and it's far better bread for you because it's had much longer to ferment, do its thing, make it more digestible, make it much better for you. Good bread takes time. Bad bread is made in an hour or two in a factory. And it's kind of really hard for people to digest because it's full of accelerants and it's full of improvers, whereas it should just be flour, water, salt, yeast. Okay?
So you're obviously referring to a sliced white loaf you bought in the retail.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of retailers that do really good breads? So if we were going into our standard retailer, surely there must be some bread.
Yeah, artisan breads. They're very good.
You're better off going to a baker and buying bread.
Buying artisan bread.
But what if you don't have that luxury? What can you buy in a retailer?
A bread maker.
No, don't buy bread maker.
Well, yeah,
No, don't.
if you're not a baker,
They don't prove it. I
Well,
mean,
they do.
No, they don't. They don't mix it up. It's like cotton wool. They don't. The difference between a bread. Okay, what is the difference? If you don't need that gluten, what happens is the bread is like cotton wool. So you're talking about a hard bread and a soft bread. So French bread is a good hard bread, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So it depends. It's working that flour, which is terribly important. Go on. More, which is really, really important. So consequently, you're doing really well. Consequently, it's very important to knead that gluten. Now, if you do it and put it in a machine, it doesn't do it. It comes out like cotton wool. It's spongy. It shouldn't be like that. That's not bread.
So we say no to the bread maker?
Yeah.
Right.
Unless they've got one that really makes it.
Are you sponsored?
Unless somebody, unless somebody can bring out a bread maker that does it incredibly well. And
I think bread makers are very good for just making the dough and then you leave it. and then you scoop it out.
You can make it dough in a machine.
Of course you
though,
can.
In the, you know, in the KitchenAid.
But they have got programs where you can just leave it.
Yes, I know.
Anyway, let's not fall out.
No, we won't fall out.
Because I know which way it's going to end.
Yeah, you know who's going to win. You won't fall out. Don't worry.
Yes. Right, so all I'm doing with the dough is I'm just rolling it out.
Okay.
Okay, now bread dough is very different to pastry because there is gluten and there's elasticity. And so you're going to fight it basically, and every time you roll it, it's going to want to spring back. So you've just got to be able to move it around, okay? And all we're going to do, it's no different to making bread. The only difference that we're going to have is we're going to steam this rather than bake them. So they're really lovely and soft. And you can see all the flecks of seaweed in there. And that's, you know, it's adding goodness. We've used some flour, some spelt flour in there as well. So all we're going to do is cut them out, okay?
And they'll be any size.
You can make them any size. I mean, we've just made them sort of small bite size. You could make them sort of full. I always think it's nicer to have a couple than it is one great big one. But, you know, it's you know,
I agree.
it's up to you.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice.
And you can make little tiny cocktail ones. You can do as you like, really.
Okay,
But I've tested this one out on my kids, and they absolutely love doing these. So all I'm going to do is just cut a few out to give you an idea on how to prepare it. Sorry? No, it's all right. We'll just pop it on there.
That's well done.
Absolutely
Well done.
fine. So,
We got children.
a little bit of olive oil, and this is the bit that's really important to get right. Okay? Take a touch of oil, and you brush half the bun.
Just half.
Just half, and that's going to act as a seal to stop it from sticking together, so that when they're steamed and made, you can open them out really, really easily. Otherwise, you end up messing about with a little piece of parchment in between it, and it's just a faff.
Don't worry about all.
So I've kind of worked on this principle that this oil will just stop the stick. So we just fold them over, okay, like that.
I think that's a lovely idea, Peter. Lovely idea. We do a lot of children's cookery courses at the cookery school. You can put that in too, if you like. And they're brilliant. We do all different ages, from 9 until 11, and then from 11 till 15. And they're really so popular now. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fabulous. And they love cooking. Children are now getting into cooking. And I think it's they make wonderful presents. They really do. So.
Okay, so I leave these to prove for about 30 minutes. They'll double in size, and I then put them in my steamer. So I have ovens with steamer. A lot of them do. If you don't have a steamer, what you need to do is spray them with lots and lots of water. Put a couple of ice cubes in there, and cover it in foil and bake it in a chamber full of steam.
So where would you put the ice cube?
I would just put one ice cube there, there, and
right,
there.
so,
I'd spray it with lots of water and wrap it airtight in foil and put it in the oven at 120 degrees to allow the temperature to penetrate at 100 in there. And that'll give you a similar effect. Steaming is the best. Buy a bamboo steamer, stick it on top of it is a really good way of doing it. Okay, and then what you get...
This lady's got a question.
Yeah, sure.
Is that baking sheet grease for your food?
It's a non-stick,
Okay.
so it'll do the job.
Yep.
So I'll put all these in so we can have a good taste of them. So I've made some in advance.
That's a steam oven then, did you say?
Lots of new ovens have multiple ways of use. So you'll get convection oven, you'll get steam built into them. They'll have little. There's a steamer button there.
Ready?
You get little cartridges that put steam in.
All right.
If you've got one, great. If you haven't, ice cubes and steam it
Right.
and spray. There's always a way,
Right.
you know. Or buy a little bamboo steamer from Amazon. It sits on top, and you can steam 2 or 3 at a time if you like. It's whichever works for
The
you.
steaming in the oven, I think, works really, really well. You can get these wonderful ovens now, the steaming ovens, which we have a few of.
Okay.
Which they're lovely, which people can do, but you can just do it yourselves. It's fine, burn in the water.
So the compote, the hoisin sort of Asian style dressing that we've made, all I've done is I've boiled that down, I've reduced it by half, so now the California prune juice is nice and syrupy. So we've removed some of the water and the prunes have swollen right up. If you wanted to put chili in there and all kinds of stuff, but I would just fish out the ginger and the star anise and blend that or I would use a wooden, if you like it chunky, use a wooden spoon and just sort of break the California prunes down, and they'll kind of dissolve. And eventually, or if you blend it, you end up with this kind of texture, okay? And then we've added some soy to kind of get the balance of the umami and sort of that savoury.
How long can you keep that? Because I'm assuming that it because it's so.
I would say weeks and weeks, but
You would keep it for weeks.
yes,
Freeze.
you won't need to.
No.
But you could put it in sort of airtight bags and freeze it if you wanted to. But I reckon that would 4 weeks, wouldn't you, Rosemary?
Yes,
No
easy.
problem.
The thing about it is that it won't. It's not the fat. It's not protein in there. You see, you're talking about protein. If there was eggs or anything near there, you would have a 4-day shell, something like that at the most, unless it was sous vide. But other than that, anything with just a natural sugar intake, it's much. You keep it for weeks and weeks and weeks. They really are good.
I think it's one of those things, put it in your fridge, keep it there, and then you've got
Inside,
options. And when you've got options, cooking's easy.
Yeah.
Because it's just about pulling a few. You know, you could bring a packet of dried noodles and a bunch of coriander and that, and you've got a really nice meal if you haven't got long. You know, and just
Okay.
those packet of noodles that sits at the back of the cupboard, you know, and if you've got coriander growing on the windowsill, happy days. You know, and then what we're going to do is we're also going to sprinkle these. Rosemary roasted these cashew nuts in a tiny bit of oil,
Go on.
a little bit of a smoked paprika, and again some of the seaweed to give us a nice crunch. So when we taste these, we get the soft steamed bun, we get the chicken, we get protein from the chicken, we're getting all our goodness from this kind of Asian style California prune puree, and then we've got the zing of pickled carrot. We've got the savoury of spring onions. You can kind of make your own. And I'm going to encourage you to come up and make your own, because the way I would do it, put all those things, but you might not like coriander, you might not like spring onion, you might have a day tonight, you really don't want to eat your onion. Who knows?
You might not.
Well, you might not.
You know, it's like taking
Day's
it
young,
just to
yeah,
yourself.
you know.
It's like a breakfast. What about a healthy? This is a healthy breakfast.
It is. It is.
Tacos, all these things. Oh my gosh, yes. Definitely healthy breakfast. Sunday brunch. Here we come.
Weekends is pancakes for my
Yeah.
kids, because we have time. And they love them.
You're doing brilliantly here.
Thanks.
No, not you.
Oh!
Do you get the kids involved as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids love cooking, and they are quite adventurous to a point. And we try to nudge them a little bit, but keep that security blanket of, do you know what? It absolutely doesn't matter if you don't like it. It's the fact that you've tasted it. And we do encourage them and reward them to taste, but familiarity for me is the key to tasting.
Yeah.
If it's so if I get my daughter to try an aubergine, I make sure that she's kind of played aubergine rugby in Sainsbury's with her dad. So it's a bit of fun. You know, so it's that rugby bake. It's not that weird sort of black purpley thing that fills them with dread. And I think familiarity just breaks barriers down. And then,
Exactly.
do you know what? It's okay. And if you don't like it, hey, we're not going to do it again for another year, and we'll bring it back round. And kids' taste buds change all the time.
But can I just say, with these pancakes, if you want to give them prune and they won't have the prunes, you can puree some prunes, and instead of adding all the milk, you can make a prune pancake. So you do a prune spelt pancake, okay? So you can actually do it that way and change it a bit, which will be delicious.
So the pancake itself is then really sweet.
Yes, yes, exactly,
Yeah, lovely.
exactly. It'd be lovely, lovely.
Can you just go through how to make prune puree?
Well, it'd be simple. All you do is take some prunes and bung them in with some water. That's what I would do.
Boiling water straight over them.
Boiling
They
water.
soften. They
And
suck up
soften.
the water.
That's it, you just
chuck them in the food processor.
But you
got it.
liquidizer rather than processor, because you need to have it very fine.
But you can have that as a paste as well. You can have that
Yeah.
added on.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it's that kind of rich.
Prunes, eh?
If you had black
Prunes,
treacle in
eh?
something, you could replace it with prune puree. So if you wanted to make a sticky toffee pudding and get rid of the treacle, the golden syrup, I make
Exactly.
hobnobs with California prune puree, and we just pull
Delicious.
out the syrup and things like that. And all you do is you get a fruitier syrup than golden syrups, and
Yes.
you get that fruitiness to it.
I mean, the one thing about California prunes is you could do anything with them, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. There is nothing you can't do with prunes. Nothing.
Even pout.
Everything.
Pouting as well.
Parting. Prune parting. Prune parting.
Do you want to try one of these, Rosemary?
I thought it sounds so weird.
And then we're going to let everybody have a try, I think. You going to try one?
Of course.
Okay, so, on with the sauce.
I think. No, not quite. Really.
I've also brought some halloumi. If anyone is vegetarian, I'm going to create it with that. So we've got...
If you think I can open my mouth to take that, you must be joking.
Well, I kind of figured if anyone can.
I can't. Look, I can't open my mouth. Oh no, I can't open my mouth.
You can nibble it. There you go.
Right, okay.
Have a nibble.
I'd love to.
Put the camera down.
Yes, I want to, but I can't open my mouth. I will be able to, hopefully by this weekend. Oh, you're in it, win it. I think Carla's done wonderful, hasn't she? Carla, you've done brilliantly. Brilliantly. Have you enjoyed it? You've had the best view of everything.
Would you like?
I'll have a little one, but make sure it's very thin.
Okay,
Very thin, please.
try my best.
One. Oh, sauce is lovely. That sauce there would be. He's clever.
If you were designing a kitchen, would you have a pot like that, or would you go?
Yeah, I use induction all the time.
I
love induction.
Love it.
Induction
Love it.
is absolutely
Love
the way
it.
forward. It's
Love it.
clean, it's a flat surface when you're not using it.
But you can't control the temperature as well, can you?
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
going to try.
It's just a different way of doing it. Yeah, the first 2 weeks of induction's a nightmare. You're going to burn everything.
You need an
Or-
induction to use an induction.
Yeah,
It
you
is,
do.
they're not
It's a different way of cooking.
You would never go.
And it's,
So good.
yeah, it's a different way of cooking. But
Okay.
that's okay.
For the camera. This
Gosh, I've got
is
stories.
absolutely delicious. Now to the crowd. This is absolutely delicious. And now to Peter. This is delicious.
Good. How'd you like it?
Please feel free to go and have
Yeah,
one.
and I would urge you to come up and make your own, because then you can make it how you want it.
Oh,
Because it would be
Make
quite...
your own, as Lily Walsh would say.
Turn over? I think
No.
I don't know, wouldn't it?
Made that herself.
Oh, right,
No,
okay.
I have to say, no, actually, no.
Um,
I have to
Put some
say,
halloumi in, please.
I think
I will,
I think Clara needs a hand.
Do you
She's
really?
been up here, she's listening. You've had the best view of everything.
I know, it's been great.
It's been brilliant. Had the best view of everything. And I think she's done a wonderful job. She's made lots of pancakes. I'm going to cut the pancakes into 4, okay? So in fact we need a serrated knife. Anybody can speak? Oh, I'll use that knife. Oh no, I won't.
sorry, Rosemary, there is one in my knife wallet in the back.
Okay.
Has anyone got any questions on what we've made? Or what we're trying to achieve? Does everyone kind of understand what we've tried to? Does it make sense? Good.
What were we trying to achieve?
We're trying to sort of unlock some secrets, really, to make fresh, healthy food exciting, make you look forward to it. How do we kind of make things
Do you want to do the last
Yeah,
one? Go
I
on.
get really disappointed when people still think that healthy eating is boring or, doesn't
It's
taste
not
good.
boring.
That's just absolutely not true. And
But it's got a stigma.
it has
And I
got
think a lot of
stigma.
people's hearts sink. In me, it makes me think, right, how am I going to tackle it? How am I going to make it taste? I spent 20 years chucking butter, cream, salt and things in my industry, and now I am almost working in the opposite manner, and trying to use all those skills to make food interesting and exciting.
But I do think having basic cooking skills is the key as well, and also not being frightened to experiment as well. I think that's key.
Can I just say one thing? Well, just before I forget to tell you. Can you see that there?
Put that pancakes now.
Now, if you get some custard or some wild mushrooms puree, or not puree, just wild mushrooms if you're a vegetarian, you just layer it, each one, and you can cut it like a cake and have it as a little, and just take a corner like a cake and have it as an alternative to a vegetarian meal. Really delicious. Or you can have it sweet, do it sweet, put layers, bit of fruit in between each one, and again, if you do it the day before and have it in the fridge, you can then layer it up. Really nice idea, using these pancakes.
Okay, right, there should be enough there for everyone to have a little taste and make it how they would like it.
But that is that.
Okay,
You can just do
and I will grab a pan and do some halloumi.
like that. I presume that's how you want it. You want to put the other one on the other plate for me?
Absolutely.
To which side?
Wow, that's incredible.
A little bit of icing sugar would be nice on
My
top.
own social media here, so I just realised, oh no.
Okay. You need a bit of just icing sugar on there.
Okay, so,
What do we do next, Peter?
well, I'm just going to cook some halloumi to serve in these bao buns with a California prune hoisin style sauce, really. Of course.